Thank you, sir. Uh, Good evening, all of you. Uh, this is first of all, I must thank to Aurangabad for this initiative. Since last 2 years, we have been struggling to join together, and a COVID pandemic has given us a message. You can use online platform for the same. So as per the changes in education system like National Education Policy 2020, Nipun Bharat initiatives, and so on, and the curriculum framework is going to be changed for all the classes. So on this foundation, we have to think over the pedagogical concerns, new techniques, ideas in the field of English language teaching and learning. So I must welcome all officers, teachers from all over Maharashtra for their eminent participation for this webinar series. So I hope that, and we have planned to come with new topics with respect to NEP 2020, different pedagogical concerns, new techniques, and new dimensions with, you may say, global concerns. So I hope that this is the first opening webinar series, and I must appreciate and welcome to Mr. Suyog Dikshit also, that he is going to deliver learning, or you may say teaching out of the plan. So this is a new kind of concept. You may get a new kind of knowledge and skills through this webinar. So I wish all the best for this webinar series, and for every Sunday the timing will be same, I think. So you will get benefits of this web series with new concerns and concepts and concerns. So I must congratulate all the participants here to have or to be participated in this webinar series, and in future also we will be delivering new innovative topics with respect to English language teaching and learning. So once again, I must congratulate uh, this initiative and Rao Rangabad officers. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Uh, I have seen some message here that voice is breaking, but I think due to rainy season, maybe there are problems. But it is quite good sound we are listening here. Thank you, sir. Let me introduce my friend Mr. Suyog Dikshit, who is going to deliver the lecture today. Mr. Suyog Dikshit is a primary teacher at ZP Primary School in Dhamangao, block Yevla in Nashik district. He holds the position of TAC coordinator under the Tejas initiative. Suyog has served as a state level English ambassador for the spoken English program and has been actively involved in developing training modules and writing materials for various initiatives by Aurangabad, including Advanced Spoken English, MOOC, ELCRLM. Suyog has presented at international conferences such as the 5th and 6th INET International Conference and 56th ITFL Conference. He also works as INET Connect Project Associate. Currently, Suyog is pursuing an MA in TESOL from University of Warwick as a Hornby Scholar. So now, Suyog, who is working as a primary teacher in Maharashtra and is a Hornby Scholar now. So it is really very proud moment that our teacher is going to deliver lecture, and he is in England now. So he is going to deliver this lecture. I warmly welcome Suyog Dikshit sir, and I request him to please start your presentation. Mr. Suyog Dikshit sir, over to you. Thank you.
Thank you very much for the introduction and all the kind words, dear sir. I'm elated to be here today for this webinar by Ra Aurangabad. Ra Aurangabad has played an instrumental role in my professional development. I vividly remember coming for the first time to Ra Aurangabad in 2017 for spoken English training. I acknowledge and appreciate the kind gesture by Ra Aurangabad to provide me an opportunity to be a part of various initiatives such as Spoken English, Advanced Spoken English MOOC, ELC ILM, and many more. I thank very much Ra Aurangabad for providing me this platform today. So let's start. Honorable Dr. Kalimuddin Sheikh Sir, Director Ra Aurangabad, Honorable Arun Sangolkar Sir, HOD English SCRT, Dr. Vishalji Tade Sir, HOD English Ra Aurangabad, Dr. Pramodji Kumaut Sir, Dr. Rajesh Chaudhary Sir, Dr. Birappa Shinde Sir, my mentor, dear Ujjwal Karwande Sir, all honorable principals, senior lecturers from diets all around the state, all respected officials from administrative wing who have joined today, my dear SARs, ESARs, and dear colleagues. First of all, I want to congratulate you for your interest in professional development and thank you very much for joining us today. So let me just share my screen now. Hope it works. Could someone just confirm if the screen is visible or not?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Thank
It
you
is
very much.
visible. Yes, sir.
Thank you very much. So the title of my talk is Lesson Outside the Plan. And in this talk, basically, I'm going to explore two important phenomena. The first one, that is critical incident, and the second one, that is emergent language. Most of my talk will be around these two phenomena, critical incident and emergent language. And afterwards, in last few minutes, I'll try to share a few reflections from my side before inviting reflections from you. And of course, finally, there will be a small question and answer session in the end. So let's start. So think of, imagine that you have some topic in your mind that you want to teach in your classroom and you are thinking of planning a lesson. And now when I say planning a lesson, does not necessarily mean that making an elaborate plan with every column, writing everything in detail, or even writing it in the Tajan Wahi. It could be something simply in our mind itself as well. की माझ्या डोक्यात आहे की मी असं असं हा लेसन घेणार आहे. So when I plan this lesson, for me, it appears something like this. I have fixed learning outcomes. I know these are the steps I'm going to take in my lesson, and the lesson will go something like this. But when I try to execute this lesson in the classroom, it might appear something like this. There might be different turns, different things that I have not anticipated in the lesson and that are happening in the lesson. And I'm very much sure that it's not the case just for me, but it's the case with most of us. Not for each lesson, but for most of the lessons, what we plan and what we execute has sort of differences. And these turns, these new things that appeared in the lesson, which we have not planned for, which we have not anticipated, this is what we call as critical incidents. Fine. So this is critical incidents, these unplanned things. Now let's see a few definitions for these critical incidents. The first definition is by Farrell in 2008, that's from ELT Journal. He says that a critical incident is any planned event that occurs during class. Again, there's another definition by Brookfield. He says any vividly remembered event which is unplanned and so as you can see, okay, this is a critical event for me. Could you please mute yourself? Okay, so as you can see, Farrell focuses on this unplanned part, while Brookfield adds another part that is vividly remembered. So in Farrell's definition, this unplanned part is there. Brookfield speaks about unplanned as well as vividly remembered. And if I want to speak for myself, and if I want to define it, I'll add another element to it. That is the event on which we reflect consciously or subconsciously. So my definition of critical incident might include three parts. The first one is this unplanned or anticipated. The second one, vividly remembered. And the third one, the event that we think to reflect on. That reflection may be conscious, that reflection might be unconscious or subconscious. Okay, so this is critical event. Now let me elaborate this with an example from my classroom. Back in 2018, I was working at ZP Primary School Thakurwadi Toroshi in Igatpuri block of Nashik district. That was a school in tribal area, and all the kids used to speak a variety of Marathi, Thakri. Thakri was the variety of Marathi. That was a primary school. I was teaching maybe to third or fourth standard, and I was thinking to teach the structure go to. And I have given them some examples. I go to school, I go to my home, we go to school. And I asked students to create some examples of their own. And one kid from my school, Sama, he came up with this example. I go to Igatpujilo. Now, this sentence seems the same as the English sentence, except that la part. That is typical Thakeri part. Fine, that is typical Thakeri touch that he gave to this English sentence. And which made me think that what that Sama is doing is that he's bringing all the knowledge of different languages he has into the same linguistic repertoire. So what Sama is doing, or what my students are doing, that they are not thinking languages are different, but they are using all different languages together. And based on this, I started thinking on this phenomenon. I started exploring this phenomenon, and I realized a few more things about translanguaging. And I tried to create a space where my students would be comfortable using sentences, or creating sentences somewhat like this. I go to Gotila, I go to somewhere else, please give me Wahi. Um, that actually resulted in better communication in my classroom. Kids who used to afraid of English, who used to be afraid of English, they started using English more confidently, because they know that they can switch over languages, they can go from one language to another language. And that was something interesting I realized. Um, I explored this further, and I even presented about the same thing in the fifth INET International Conference. My presentation is also available in the INET Conference publication. The presentation is also available on the YouTube. But my point being, this all started from this one sentence by Sama. That was, I go to Igatpujilam. Fine. And this is where I thought of exploring this further. So the use of this sentence, I go to Igatpujilam, that was a critical incident for me. Because of this critical incident, I started exploring what happened in my classroom in further. So now I'll give a couple of minutes to you, and I'll request you think of a critical incident that happened in your classroom. You have 2 minutes. I'll very much appreciate if you could share that incident in the chat box. And if you could not, that's perfectly fine. Just think it for yourself. We will be exploring this further in the upcoming talk. So you have 2 minutes. Please think of some critical incident. Yes, thank you very much, Nisar. Nisar has shared an incident when a student constantly arrives late in the class. That can be an critical incident. Thank you very much for sharing this, Nisar. Spending much time in explaining unplanned concept during teaching. Yeah, exactly. That can be a critical incident. Okay, so I'm sure that you must have thought some yeah, there's one more. Students use bad words to each other and waste times. True, that can be a critical incident. I do agree with this. That will be a critical incident for me as well. So thank you very much. Students are afraid of English subject and also teacher. Yes, yes, that can be a critical incident. True. Students don't ask questions, of course. That will be a critical incident. Thank you very much. Some students incomplete homework daily. Yeah. Can a student not participate in group activity? Yes, of course. So, irregular to school, indeed. Student describe their experience and it takes class toward another topic. Of course, that will be a critical incident. Sir. Thank you very much for this. When they need to go home, the time students show an illness. Yeah, students make noise. Yeah, so we came up with such a big list of critical incidents. See, and now whether you have some students give a perfectly correct answer, which is sometimes unexpected. Wow, thank you very much for this, Sujita ma'am. Students need more attention in class when they face emotional conflict at home. Of course, thank you very much for all these critical incidents. Um, so whether you have shared it in the chat box or whether you have something in your mind, let's just see some of the characteristics of these critical incidents. The first characteristics will be these critical incidents are often ignored. So see, what happened? I have something in my mind. I have planned something. And I very much appreciate when everything goes according to my plan. And when there's something that does not go according to my plan, I started feeling panicked. And what I do, I try to sweep it under the carpet. I try to ignore it. Fine. So most of the times when these critical incidents happen, instead of exploring them further, instead of like thinking about them, instead of reflecting on them, we simply tend to ignore it, tend to slide them under the carpet because that's easier. And that's not something like, how can we say that there's something happened which was not planned? We are so used to this part tachna pramane jhala thing. And when there's something which is not tachna pramane, we don't actually think of that. We try to ignore these critical incidents. So the first thing about critical incidents is those are often ignored. The second one, critical incidents vary from person to person. Of course, you saw a good list of critical incidents in the chat box. And one important thing would be the incident that I think is a critical incident in my class, not necessarily should be a critical incident for you as well. So what a critical incident is might be different from person to person. So these critical incidents vary person to person. The example I gave about translanguaging, I thought that was a critical incident for me, but some might think that that's not a critical incident for them. That's perfectly okay because you might come up with some other critical incident that I have not thought about. The next one will be, yeah. So Farrell called these critical incidents into divides these critical incidents into two parts: teaching high incidents and teaching low incidents. Teaching high incidents are the incidents where something positive happens and learning is taken to another level. The example I shared about this translanguaging, that would be a teaching high type of incident. Teaching low incidents, some of the examples which I could see in the chat box, for example, students pretend to be ill when they want to go home. Students come late to home, they don't complete their homework. That could be teaching low type of incidents. And yeah, of course, there's an interesting point made by Joshi that critical incident can be something seemingly insignificant. For example, I go to Igatpurilum. That does not seem important or significant, but it became valuable upon review and analysis. So when we review that critical incident, when we start analyzing that critical incident, that becomes valuable. Uh, I can see a few uh, comments saying that voice is clear or not. Oh yeah, thank you very much, Rajesh. Sir. Thanks a lot. So my point was that there could be something that is absolutely insignificant or small when we say it prima facie, but that could be very valuable if we start exploring it. And as I mentioned in the first point, unfortunately, that's what we tend to avoid. So instead of the critical incident that we should explore further, reflect on it, and work on that, instead of doing that, we just ignore that critical incidents. Okay. And this is where I'll argue that this critical incidents requires a deliberate attention. And to support my argument, I'll share a few reasons behind that. The first one is these critical incidents have a huge potential to enhance the classroom experiences. As you can see with my example, the use of translanguaging, which started from a critical incident, has enhanced my classroom experience not only for me, but also for my students. So these critical incidents have that potential that can enhance the classroom experience, that can enhance our teaching and learning process as well. So that's why I'll argue that they require this deliberate attention. The second one, of course, they give us an opportunity to reflect on our practices. Fine. So whatever critical incident we think of, whatever critical incident we come on, that gives an opportunity to think around that critical incident, to reflect on that critical incident. And that's, of course, very much. And this is again a beautiful point made by Joshi in 2018 article in Delta. He says that critical incidents bring beliefs to the level of awareness. Now, what does he mean? See, most of the times, what happens is that I believe something, and my behavior is a direct reflection of what I believe in. Fine. And when I start understanding my behavior, analyzing my behavior makes my beliefs clear to myself. Could you mute yourself, please?
नाही रे
Okay. So the point is that there might be some beliefs, underlying beliefs, which we ourselves don't know of. And when we start analyzing critical incidents, those underlying beliefs come to the level of awareness. And when beliefs come to the level of awareness, it's really possible to work on these beliefs and change these beliefs. So critical incidents bring these beliefs to the level of awareness, and ultimately all these results into informed teaching. Our teaching gets more informed. We know what choice we are making and what are the reasons behind our choice. So when we make these conscious decisions in our classroom, that actually reflects in our confidence level and our teaching style. So let's hold this thought of critical incident for a while, and let's move to the next part, that is emergent language. Um, so see, the first thing I want to make clear is that there's another field of study, that is emergent literacy, which deals with the literacy of young learners, that I'm not speaking about. I'm speaking about emergent language. Many believe this term emergent language was coined by Scott Thornberry in late 90s and early 2000s as a result of initiative movement called Dogme. We are not going into that. But what is this emergent language? Let me explain this with the help of an example. So this is standard 6 textbook, my English book standard 6. This is page 2 of that book. So imagine it's your classroom. You are teaching it. You are teaching this lesson. You have made some groups, and you ask students to focus on these questions. When do you feel happy? When do you feel sad? So, and some along that. Now, when I plan or when I think of this lesson, my target language will be this: happy, sad, angry, scared. I can even see the faces of Tara having these emotions. So this would be the target language for me. And I have made these groups. I have asked students, okay, आता तुम्ही ग्रुपमध्ये बसा आणि आता तुम्ही ह्या प्रश्नांची उत्तरे द्यायचे प्रयत्न करा. And not before 5 minutes, a kid asks you, मॅडम किंवा सर जेव्हा कौतुक करतात याला इंग्लिशमध्ये कसं म्हणायचं? Again, in next 2 minutes, another kid asks you, someone is drawing things on the screen, please don't do that. Another kid asks you, मॅडम किंवा सर जेव्हा चिडवतात त्याला इंग्लिशमध्ये कसं म्हणायचं? Now, at this moment, तुम्ही काय करताल? You have 3 options. The first option, you tell the kids, the students, that don't worry, जेव्हा पुढे शिकायचं तेव्हा आपण पाहणार आहोत ते. ठीक आहे ना? सध्या काही विचार करू नको, सध्या फक्त ऍक्टिव्हिटीकडे लक्ष दे. Or you go to that particular group or particular student and tell that particular group of students how this is said. Or you pause the activity for a while, teach them the vocabulary that they need to complete the activity, and then ask students to resume the activity. Now, what will you do in your class? Again, 2 minutes, please share your responses in the chat box. Okay, let me repeat the question again. Imagine that you are teaching this in your class and kids ask these questions to you. What will you do? You have 3 options. Don't worry, let's study it later. Answer this particular group of students or pause the activity for a while and teach to her class. Thank you very much for Gitanjali ma'am. She came up with a beautiful option that she'll use a song. Yes, Rupali ma'am says option C. Thank you very much for that. Particular group, particular student, okay. Pay attention to that child, okay. C. Option C, okay. Let's wait for a few more responses. Yeah, now the responses are pouring in. We'll go for B because I think needy should be catered. Maybe others are thinking hard and stop the classroom activity will disturb the flow. Beautifully said. Option C, option B, option C, option C, C, B, C. Pause the activity for some time, tell the vocabulary they need, and then continue the activity, okay? Let's do this action, okay? Tell them opposite words of that, okay? C, B, C, okay, okay. Give some hints, wow, that's beautiful. Try to solve their doubts, okay? May I help you to complete it? Nice one. C, B, okay. Yeah, so thank you very much. I could see innovative responses coming even more than this, what I have given you the options. Option C, but I would prefer to provide all requirement vocabulary should be discussed before activity. Okay, that's beautifully said. Okay, so as I can see, there are different responses coming, some innovative responses as well. And the first thing I would want to tell you all is that you know best what will suit in your classroom. So whatever you have given response in the chat box, that's perfect and correct response in context of your classroom. I'm not here to tell you that this is what you should do in your classroom because you are the expert. You know the context, your situation very well. You know the classroom dynamics very well. And whatever decision you take, whether that may be any of these 3 options, whether that may be something else, that is correct for your classroom. So see, the thing is that I'm not here to tell, okay, this is correct option and this is wrong option. Everything what you said, that is correct when you think of your classroom. Now, if I think of my classroom where I was teaching before coming here, I'll choose option C. One of the reasons is that, again, I want to continue this presentation as well. So I pause this activity for a while and teach them the necessary vocabulary that they need to complete the activity. Fine. And then, see, the thing is that this was my target vocabulary: happy, sad, angry, scared. And I gave them this new vocabulary: praises me, teases me. So, this new vocabulary, that was this new language, which was not my target language. Fine. The language I gave them, that was not my target language, but I have to teach them in my classroom. Please mute yourself. This is what we'll call as an emergent language. So here I'd argue that a language classroom incorporates target language as well as emergent language. So whenever you are teaching, whenever you are using, or whenever you are teaching in your English class, you don't focus on target language or emergent language. You focus on both of them. And this is how this classroom lesson is built on. So let's try to see a few characteristics of this emergent language. First one, it emerges from students' needs. As you can see the example, students wanted to know कौतुक करता कसं म्हणतात इंग्लिशमध्ये, चिडवतात कसं म्हणतात इंग्लिशमध्ये. And because of that need, this emergent language was arised or emerged. Most of the times, this is the language that they use in their conversations, in their activities, when they are practicing some language. And that's what makes the emergent language more valuable, because it is directly used. It is meaning focused. So see, I feel happy when, I feel sad when. That was the form I wanted to teach. So that target language was that form focused. It was focusing on the form. I feel happy when, I feel sad when. But instead, this emergent language focuses on the meaning students want to convey using the language. It focuses on that meanings. And the last one, teacher decided to give deliberate attention to this emergent language. So, as I could say in the chat box, a few of us decided to focus on this emergent language. A few of us decided to go with some other options. A few of us came with some different ideas. So, when someone decides to give deliberate attention to this language, this is what we call as the emergent language. Now, let's see a couple of definitions for this emergent language. The first one is by Jason Anderson. He says, language that arises naturally during the learning process, often produced or needed by learners, that is focused on through clarification with the support of teachers. As you can see, everything, the example I given earlier, that ticks every box. Arises naturally during the learning process, often produced or needed by the learners, focused through clarification with the support of teachers. Yeah. The next one, that is by Richard Chin in his beautiful book, Working with Emergent Language. Unplanned language that is needed or produced by learners during meaning-focused interaction. So see, he focuses on this interaction part. This language is then explored through reformulation, clarification, and support from teachers. So this is what Richard Chin and Norrington Davis in their book, Working with Emergent Language, say as is the emergent language. Thank you very much for the comments, Sandeep sir. You should give option to the words of box. Yeah, thank you very much, Vandana ma'am. Okay, so see, when that emergent language might come into the play, it could be the new language, as I gave the example. चिडवताला कसं म्हणतं इंग्लिशमध्ये, कौतुक करताला कसं म्हणतं इंग्लिशमध्ये. That was new language to students which they were not aware of. So that could be that new language. It could be while answering the questions of students. Again, the same example. Would you mute yourself, please? The next one is something when the students commit errors and I decide to focus on that errors. So for example, imagine I am teaching in my English class. Some students are at the door and they ask me, "May I come in, sir?" And now I think, oh, now I have had enough. Now I just have to teach them this thing. and I decide that please mute, please mute, please mute. And I decide that, okay, now I'll teach them, may I come in, sir? So that came into play because of the errors of students. And the last one, the emergent language could be something where teacher provides an alternative way. So for example, I was conducting an activity in my classroom. The activity was something like this. Describe your teacher using 5 sentences. Very simple activity. आपण सगळीच घेतो अशा टाईपची activity. And a kid came up with a sentence, my sir is long. Of course, he knew the word tall, but he didn't thought of that word at that moment. And he came up with the sentence, my sir is long. And of course, I intervened. I changed it to my sir is tall. So here what I did, that I gave an alternative way to say the same thing. So this is again emergent language. So these are the 4 where this emergent language can come into play. But keep in mind, it could be some other places as well where this emergent language comes into play. Yes, thank you very much, Santosh Dada. Spontaneous responses, of course, yeah. So this is where this emergent language comes into play. Come on, what did I do? One sec, I think I missed my flow. Yeah. Now, the most important part is what emergent language and when the teacher decides to. Yes, very nice example, Chandan sir. Yeah. What and when the teacher decides to intervene and give the deliberate attention to the languages. So see, what's my point here? As we are working with language in a language class, there might be multiple incidents, various incidents where such things are happening. Now, out of these different incidents, which incident as a teacher you choose to focus on? When you choose to focus on, that tells more about yourself as a teacher. Fine. So that tells more about your beliefs, your thinking process, what you consider important and what you consider requires attention and everything like that. So here, my argument is that this emergent language that gives us an opportunity to see our beliefs, our ideas, what we are in detail by focusing on seeing when we decide to come into play, when we decide to give the deliberate attention and correct our students. Now, let's very quickly see why I believe this emergent language is important. The first one, as I was saying in the previous slide as well, it tells us more about ourselves as teachers, what we consider important, when we decide to intervene, at what point we decide to intervene, what language we decide to intervene. That tells us more about ourselves as teachers. When I was speaking with Richard Chin, the author of this emergent language book, I made this argument with him that how a teacher deals with this emergent language might be an indicator of teacher expertise. And of course, this is something I'd love to work in the future and explore something about this. Of course, this emergent language facilitates better learning. So see, in my classroom, imagine that I didn't give them this language, kautuk karta, chidota, at that moment. And maybe after 6 months, I write these words on the board and ask students to learn these words. Which one would have been better? Of course, when they use this language, that would have been better. So this emergent language facilitates better learning. And it also provides meaning to the language class. So the language class, which was form focused, which was focused on this form part, like I feel happy when, I feel sad when, it provided meaning to the language class where students could come into their own life while speaking. So this is why I believe this emergent language is very much important. So winding things up, I started with critical incidents, and we know that critical incidents are unplanned incidents that happen in our classroom. And my argument was that these critical incidents are highly important because these critical incidents tell us about ourselves, our practices, and also they have the potential to improve the teaching learning process. The second one, that was emergent language. While discussing, please don't do this on the screen. While discussing this emergent language, my first argument was that when we use this emergent language, that gives meaning to a language class. And my second argument was that how we use this emergent language tells us more about ourselves as teachers. So this is what I tried to focus during this presentation using critical incidents and emergent language. And now coming to this lesson outside the plan, why I gave this title to the talk. So in this talk, we talk about two unplanned events. The first unplanned event, that was critical incidents. The second unplanned event, that was this emergent language. So these unplanned events, and I argued that both of these unplanned events, whether that may be critical incident, whether that may be emergent language, those are often overlooked. So even if I take this example in my classroom, मी ग्रुप केलेले आहेत, मुलांना ते ऍक्टिव्हिटी करायला सांगितलेली आहेत, आणि मुलं मला असे प्रश्न विचारतात, कौतुक करायला काय म्हणतात, चिडवताना काय म्हणतात. Of course, I have to tell the answer to them. But that makes me angry with myself. Ki I have something else in my mind and I have to deviate from my plan.
काय करतं सिग्नलवर आहे ना गाडी उभं राहते.
So my point is that we are so fixed with the plan that we tend to avoid deviating from the plan, and which makes us overlook these critical incidents and emergent language. But having said this, these critical incidents and emergent language, they have huge significance for our classroom, our teaching learning process. Of course, we have seen via the examples, and also they have a huge significance for ourselves as teachers. Because when we as teachers start exploring these things, we start getting better teachers as we start making informed choices. We know what choice we are making. Okay, and the next one. Yeah, I'm about to finish my presentation, so you can stop doing these things on the screen. And yeah, I believe these critical incidents, emergent language, these are some of the topics that are very much interesting to explore in the future, because there's very less attention given to these things, given the fact they have this much importance and vitality in the class. So since I said that they are very much interesting to explore, therefore, I'm thinking to propose a project which will explore these critical incidents and emergent language when I come back to India. And one of the motives of this talk was to introduce the concept of this critical incident and emergent language, and to seek for potential colleagues. If you resonate with this presentation, if you think, please mute. If you could resonate with this, what I said throughout the presentation. Yeah, of course, we are facing critical incidents. So what I have been speaking throughout the presentation, if you could resonate with this, if you think that, okay, this is something valuable and I can really reflect on this thing, so I'll very much appreciate if you can get in contact with me, because I'm looking for colleagues and I hope to propose a project where my colleagues and I will explore these critical incidents, and I'm sure we can add value to the existing body of knowledge. So before finishing, I'll just want to share a few reflections based on these things. The first one, as teachers, we are highly control freak. We want to control each and everything that happens in the classroom. And that's actually not necessary. We don't have to control each and everything that goes in the classroom. We don't need to go everything picture perfect according to the plan, that type of thing. Does that mean I should not plan? Of course, I should plan. I should have a good sound plan when I enter the classroom. But I just should not expect that the plan will be executed as it is said. It is said that teaching is skilled improvisation. So this improvisation is very, very much important in the classroom. So whenever we enter the classroom, although we have a plan, we need to be able to improvise and accept our improvisations. The next reflection from my side, that is, nothing in the classroom is too insignificant to ignore. So whatever is happening in the classroom, see, for example, me myself, I was not paying attention to these critical incidents and emergent language. But now I realize that although I used to consider this insignificant, it has its own significance. So nothing that goes in the classroom is too insignificant to ignore. And the final one, whether that may be life, whether that may be our classroom, the magic always resides in these unplanned moments. And on that note, I'll just share the references I used for the talk. The Farrell's article is in ELT journal that might not be openly accessible, but you can just contact me if you want. The next one by Farrell, that is open access. You can just access that from there. Joshi's article, that's really beautiful article. I love this article. I'll highly recommend to read that one. And Jason and Chin has, yeah, if you search on YouTube Richard Chin Emergent Language, you will see amazing sessions given by Richard recently because he has published book, and I'll highly recommend you to go through these sessions. And that's all from my side. Thank you very much. Now the floor is open to everyone. Whatever reflections you have, whatever questions you have, I'm here to answer. And of course, you can always get in contact with me on my email ID, suyogdikshit@gmail.com. And if you think that this session is valuable and you want to work on these critical incidents and emergent language in the future, please drop a mail to me. If you want to have this presentation, you can just visit my website, go in the presentation section, and you will find the slides available there. You can download this session. And of course, there's my blog link. Yeah, I'll share my website link in the chat box. Yeah. Thank you very much, Ujjwal, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, sir.
So that's all. Thank you very much, sir.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. I think
Thank you, sir.
It is wonderful now, wonderful session. Thank you. Fruitful session. Thank you very much. Feedback is coming from all the participants, Suyog sir.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
If anybody want to ask question, the platform is open for all. We can take one or two questions for discussion, or as Mr. Suyog said, you can send your questions on WhatsApp, or you can mail Mr. Suyog Dikshit also.
Sir,
Yes,
sir,
yes.
one question, sir.
Yeah, please.
I want to suggest you to conduct as possible as 1 month or 15 days ago.
Okay,
After
sir.
15 days.
You okay. I got your point. Well, definitely, let me announce one thing that we are planning that every Sunday we will arrange a lecture like this for all the teachers of Maharashtra. So it is a good feast for all the teachers now. Response is very good. More than 300 teachers were there in the Zoom. They are in the Zoom, and more than 50 teachers are there in YouTube. So it's a huge response. Thank you very much, and definitely we will send link before a week. Thank you very much for your suggestion. I extend a really heartily vote of thanks to Suyog Dikshit sir, who spared time from his busiest schedule and discuss on lesson outside the plan, and very well explained emergent language. Thank you, Suyog sir. I would like to thank.
Hello.
I would like to thank Mr. Arun Sangulkar sir, who is attended all the session, all the lecture, and given wishes to all the participants. And I am really thankful to Mr. Ujwal Karwande sir, Dr. Ujwal Karwande sir, who is also here. I'm sorry, sir. Initially, in the starting, I forget to announce your name. I forget to welcome you. I'm really sorry, but I'm thankful to you, Dr. Ujwal Karwande sir. I'm thankful to Dr. Rajesh Chaudhary sir, Birappa Shinde sir, and all the team from Rao Aurangabad and Diet Aurangabad. I'm really thankful to all the HODs, principals, senior lecturers from the Diet, and all the teachers. I must thank to all the teachers, and more than 300 teachers are there in the Zoom meeting. I am really appreciate your response, and definitely let us meet on the next Sunday with a new topic. See you and have a nice time. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Tuja, and thanks to all dear
Thank
friends
you,
who
Suyak
joined
sir.
us.
Thank you, Suyak sir. See you soon.
Sir, please
Thank you very
tell
much,
the topic of next Sunday. Sir, please tell the topic of next Sunday.
Really,
Sir,
it will be
tomorrow,
very useful
tomorrow,
and
tomorrow
very
or day
useful.
before
to
tomorrow.
all the
Sir,
teachers.
within 2 days, we will send a poster. Within 2 days,
Yeah,
we will
yeah.
share a poster, and
Yeah,
definitely you will know it. Yeah.
Okay, okay.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sir,
Thank you.
yes,
Very nice.
सर हे पीपीटी शेअर करता येतील का?
Yes, yes. करता येईल.
सर, माझ्या वेबसाईटवरती गेलात ना, dikshitsuयोग.com, तिथे प्रेझेंटेशन मध्ये पीपीटी डाउनलोड करू शकता तुम्ही. मी आता शेअर केली लिंक चॅटमध्ये.
मी सर्वांना विनंती करतो की आपण सुयोग दीक्षित सरांच्या वेबसाईटलाही भेट द्या, त्यांना मेल करा, व्हॉट्सअपवर सुद्धा ते अवेलेबल आहे आणि अतिशय चांगल्या पद्धतीने ते आपल्याला सपोर्ट करतील. सुयोग सर, मला छान वाटलं, अनेक चांगले शिक्षक मोटिवेट झाले आणि ते सुद्धा तुमच्यासारखं करू इच्छितात. थँक्यू व्हेरी मच.
थँक्यू व्हेरी मच.
टॉपिक आधी कळाला ना, थोडस तयारी थोडीशी होती.
निश्चित सर, निश्चित सर. उद्या किंवा परवा आम्ही शेअर करू तुम्हाला टॉपिक. नेक्स्ट टॉपिक शेअर करू. थँक्यू.
खूप छान सर.
बिराप्पा सर. येस, येस.